Hello everyone, Prostar Paints here from BIM. In this video I'll be presenting the automatic specification solution for Prostar Paints BIM library for Archicad 26 and 27. This video is not a tutorial video, it is just a presentation of the version 1 setup for review. The project is set up to have a delivery of the library that contains the attributes, meaning the surfaces and building materials, and there's 250 surfaces in this library, which will then report via the keynotes in the properties and the labels on the drawings. The surface finishes will have its product information attached and then be reported in schedules. The downloadable library will have a PDF guide for installation in your Archicad template or project file, and then a tutorial video corresponding to that manual. Here we have a few walls set up for demonstration purpose, and each of these walls have their variety of surface finishes from the 250 library surfaces in the library. So these walls with the applied surfaces from the Prostar Paints catalog comprise the setup of the library, comprises the attributes, that's the 250 surfaces or the paint colors, and then the Prostar Paint building material with the corresponding keynote information that will be reported on the outputs, and then the classifications, properties, which will then drive the schedules and the label outputs. As I mentioned before, we have these surface finishes where the setup of these are done with the corresponding RGB codes from Prostar Paints specifications, and then the name, and then also the treatment or the tone, also the name and the tone of that particular paint color. In order to extract that information about that surface finish or the paint color on the wall element, or in order to extract all the information about the paint color that is applied to all the model elements, that could be walls, slabs, beams, columns and roofs, ceilings. These labels have been set up to be attached to your model elements, and they will report various information about the surface or the paint finish to that element, irrespective of it's a wall or a beam or a column and so on. These label favorites is saved as favorites. These labels are saved as favorites in order to automate the process of pulling out specific information. So if we bring up the label and we bring up the favorites, you can see there's various favorites set up corresponding the information that is required in any given document that you need to publish for your project. So you don't need to set them up, you just use the favorites and they will call out this set of information accordingly, and you can make up your own combinations and also save them as favorites. On the floor plan you'll see that our model elements, these walls, which is used for the example only, is set up to be existing walls or new walls and walls to be demolished. And why this is important is on a renovation project, as architects, we need to specify different treatments to these elements, whether they are status set for demolition or new or existing. There's additional preparation that might need to be done on an existing wall in order to receive the final paint differently to a new wall, and then obviously no paint to be applied to a wall that's being demolished. But these renovation statuses, which I just quickly represented in these color codes, your demolition elements differently from new and existing, just to illustrate how these labels can report live all the different information about your element. Select this existing wall, change the status to new, and you'll see the label automatically reporting the status, which additionally drives specifications. Another form of output is a 3D document, so it is very much like the live 3D view, but this is a static view of the 3D, and you can even extract in your specifications for the paint from these live 3D documents. It's not only restricted to 2D. Once you have your model built, you'll use the technical data sheet of Prostar Paint as supplied by the factory, and then use the built-in schedule, which you call a paint spec builder. And this is where you'll see that you have various items that indicating for selection. So this is where you just want to lock this columns, where you then select your application area, in this case combination of a selection of the various items in here, multiple items selected. In this case, internal wall, and that's a dry wall. And depending on your category, so is this an undercoat? Is this a decorative spray paint? Your application, this is interior, of course, matching your internal wall. And if you go along the settings, you see that you are building up your specification based on all the aspects about this paint. So if it's applied to masonry, and then the grade of warranty grade of the paint that is selected for this application will then make up the full specification, which is then reported in the final specification report, which you then publish to your drawings. And as a summary, this is a layout sheet with all the different outputs. So this is the bottom here, you've got your paint finish report, and it reports all the information live. As you've seen, here is a 3D document with those paint finishes specified, and then also on the plan, calling out from the labels all the specification information. And that is a quick snapshot of what is inside and compiled inside this BIM library for Archicad for Prostar Paints.